Good afternoon. If you are in the UK and Europe and other parts of the world, it's good evening. In the US, it's good morning. Welcome to the Highbury Squad's Lockdown Live series. Okay, so most people will probably be listening to this on replay. This is new for us. We're going out live to you every single day during lockdown, and who knows, maybe that'll continue after lockdown. So we're kicking it off this Monday with Kevin Says. Welcome to the show, Super Kevin Campbell.
Hi, Sophie. How are you, darling? I hope you're feeling a little bit more chilled after what happened yesterday.
I'm not sure if any of us are chilled. I think the word might be, are you less stunned? I think that was stunning, but this is Kevin Says. And, you know, we had a show yesterday, which was really cool. Got a lot of fans asking questions for you as well, Kevin. So I hope everybody has their cup of tea ready too. I know you've been on the road traveling. Welcome back. Where do we start? Let's start at the very, very beginning.
Do you know, let's start, Sophie, actually, as Kev would say, let's start with the team, because it was the same team that defeated Manchester United at Old Trafford, that gave everybody such a nice boost. But one thing we do know is it depends which Arsenal turn up. This is what we do know. Arsenal haven't been playing well. Arsenal played well at Manchester United and secured the victory. But if you remember on my Kev Says last one, I said I weren't happy because for the domination we had to rely on a penalty being given and Aubameyang to finish it off. We couldn't score in open play. Now, I also said, yeah, Arteta's learning on the job. We know that, and we know which Arsenal is going to turn up. But I expected a lot better against this Aston Villa team. I expected a lot better. And the boys just didn't perform. They didn't perform. And, you know, from the first seconds, we got the warning.
Yeah.
And we didn't take heed. Look, we haven't been playing well consistently. I get that. But I'm going to go into certain flaws of players that gets exposed. I think that's key. Again.
Okay, perfect. Because I did have, you mentioned the Manchester United game, and I think someone mentioned it in our chat yesterday. KC, in that game against Manchester United, we had 2 shots on target, and one of them was the penalty, which is shocking. So take us through your steps, step by step. Start where you want to in terms of the players, because I hear you about the players, but a lot of the comments last night in the post-game show were really geared towards Arteta a little bit.
Yeah, and look, let me address that bit first. Arteta's going to make mistakes. I said it the last time in my Kev Says, and I'll say it now and moving forward. Show me a manager who don't make a mistake, and I'll show you somebody who's not managing. I said, but the key to what Arteta does is the adjustments. And for whatever reason, there was no adjustments. If he tried to make adjustments, they weren't happening because the players out on the pitch look like strangers. Let's be honest. We look like strangers. We don't. If you look at the team that played against Manchester United and the team that played yesterday, you would swear they are not the same club.
Agree.
And that happens all within a week. This is crazy. It's crazy. So the flaws, we all know where the danger is going to come from Aston Villa. We all know. It's going to be down that left-hand side with Jack Grealish. So what does that mean? That means Bellerin has to have a good game. And that means Holding has to have a good game. Because they are really the defensive structure built on that right-hand side. Whereas Jack Grealish operates on their left. Jack Grealish looked like a world beater last night, didn't he? He looked like a world beater. I never saw him. I never saw anybody hit him. I never saw anybody remotely tackle him. I saw him bully Bellerin. Was it for the third goal, or was it the second goal where he slipped Ollie Watkins through? He's just shrugged him aside and played Ollie Watkins in for what was a good goal. I mean, Rob Holding's got to do a lot better. But everything came from that side. Now, should we be a lot more smarter in how to defend these? Of course, these guys ain't just new to the Premier League, Bellerin and Holding. They should know he's the danger and he's the one we got to stop. So people could talk about, oh, Arteta got the formation wrong and all that nonsense. It's the players that have to do the job on the pitch. And they weren't capable of doing it, Sophie. That's the truth. They weren't capable. The problem is, Bellerin is not a defender. That is the bottom line. Because Grealish don't destroy other teams like this. He don't destroy other teams like this. But Arsenal at the Emirates, and he's destroying us like that now. I'm not having it. But we know. Do you reckon Maitland-Niles would have done a better job, Sophie?
I do. I do against this Aston Villa team coming into this team, Casey, because he's been dropped a little bit and he has a point to prove as well. And I think Maitland-Niles, for me, just provides a little bit more comfort at the back than Bellerin. Because you bring up a great point about Bellerin, and we've talked about him in various shows. So for me, Maitland-Niles, I don't understand why he isn't playing, because I do think he's better than a couple of players that have been chosen before him. And I think what a lot of people were also saying last night, Casey, is Arteta, we were hoping that he's not like one of those, I'm going to pick my favourites. You've got your favourite players, but just because, you know, they're your favourite players doesn't mean if they're not playing well, they should play. I mean, Amanda last night was talking about if Aubameyang's out of form, drop him. Drop him for a couple games. So I do think Maitland-Niles deserves a chance, considering how badly we're performing in those positions. And he's got that versatility to be able to come into the team and offer something better than some of those players.
But when again, as a manager, you're having to juggle the squad. So just think about this. The way the team performed at Manchester United was fine. Nobody had an argument with that. I was having a go that they weren't ruthless enough. And that's why I was disappointed. I would take the win, of course I did at Old Trafford. But when it comes to the Europa, he made 10 changes. And everyone got a game, didn't they? You know, Maitland-Niles got a game, and Pepe and Reece Nelson. Sorry, Reece Nelson was, but Willock and all these guys got a game, which was fine. Then you think, right, all the other boys are rested. So we're going to have a right go at Aston Villa. But do you know what? In football, it never quite works out that way, Sophie. It never works out that way. We're supposed to hit the ground running, and we play passive football. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think the performance actually shocked Arteta.
I would agree with that.
Arteta is taking the blame and he's holding his hand up. But I'm telling you now, I think it shocked Arteta. And here's the other thing for all these so-called people who in hindsight merchants, they think, oh, this one should have played and that one should have played. This is what I've got to say. Arsenal against Manchester United, that team, if you'd have said, is this team good enough to beat Aston Villa? You would say yes. You would say yes after taking on Manchester United at Old Trafford. Of course you would. So I don't want to hear all these people, oh, this one should have played and that one should have played. The team that beat Manchester United played on the day. The boys just did not perform. Now, here's the other thing for all them people. The same players who have messed up before Arteta was even at the club, are the same players that are kind of messing up now. It's the same. Are we surprised? Are we shocked that they perform good one week and completely capitulate the next? I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. I know it can happen. I'm not shocked. I've said last week was a snapshot, and a snapshot is not a movie, as you know, Sophie. It's just a snapshot. It's just a look of how we can be. But I know a lot of these players are not right for what Arteta wants. It's proven.
So I thought your Kevin Says segment last week was really spot on, because you did mention this is a snapshot. It's just a vignette of who we could be. You also were one of the few pundits who said, the team was being lauded, but you were kind of like a little bit pissed because you were thinking we should have won that 3-4-0 when you're playing like that, which shows you without the penalty, would we have scored anyway, right? And I hear you with regards to the same players. I mentioned that on the pod last night, in that Arteta has to build the true Arsenal that he wants is going to come after maybe 2 or 3 more transfer windows, if he's given that chance, which I think he is. It's a long-term project. And he's going to build the team in his image. And he's not able to build the team in his image yet when you still have the waste, if you like, from the Wenger years to the Emery era to now. And I think sometimes when we criticize him putting square pegs in round holes, he's doing what he can with what he's got. Mm-hmm. But when he does create that lemonade out of lemons, we do laud him. And so last night, Casey, he didn't adjust to the game. I think that's the shocking thing for a lot of the fans. So talk us through that, because you said at the very beginning here, he usually does make adjustments, or the team adjusts. And it seems like it reminded me of the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl against, I think it was the Seahawks, when the very first snap, it went right over Peyton Manning's head into the end zone, and after that, the team never recovered. It shocked them, right? That was a Super Bowl final. We see that a lot in sports. It felt like after that 1 minute, 20-second goal, we were shell-shocked and we couldn't make any adjustments. We seemed sloppy. I don't want to hear about tired, because a lot of those players were rested in Europa League. Adjustments, they never came, not from the team nor the manager.
Do you know something, Sophie? Here's the crazy thing. Mikel Arteta, I can guarantee you, would have tried to adjust something yesterday. I guarantee you he would have tried to adjust something. But the players couldn't do anything. How can you adjust something when you ask them to do something, they can't do it? This is the problem. The adjustment only works if the instruction can be carried out on the pitch, so we can then see it. But they couldn't pass the ball yesterday, Sophie, properly. They couldn't track. They couldn't cover. They couldn't defend. Couldn't score. So no matter what adjustment he tried, this was the worst performance of his tenure. And we've had some bad ones. Let's be honest. We've had some bad ones already. This was the worst performance of his tenure. And I'm telling you now, the key for me is how Arteta reacts to it. Mm-hmm. Because, look, bad performances happen. We've seen it. Does he stand for it, or does he nip it in the bud? Does he make changes? This, for me, is really important now, because a lot of trust went into keeping that same team. And they never performed. In fact, they performed terribly. So will he make the adjustments next game? And he's got a couple of weeks to work on it. Obviously, everybody's gone on international duty, etc. But again, this is an important learning curve for Arteta, who is learning on the job.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, Super Kev. Let me ask you this then. On the bench yesterday, we had Maitland-Niles, we had Pepe, who did come on eventually, we had David Luiz, we had Eddie, who came on, and we had Xhaka. Maitland-Niles, David Luiz, you could argue.
Could have
They
come on,
they could have.
etc.
They've performed well, right? We talk about the team against Manchester United. To me, I felt like El Neni should have been an adjustment that he didn't make. El Neni had a horror show yesterday. In fact, the midfield was completely overrun. I felt bad for Thomas Partey kind of coming into this match, to be honest with you, because it felt like that dream scenario that we had at Manchester United. And also, our Manchester United are really bad. Our Aston Villa are just a better team than Man United. And I think it was Lee who actually said that he felt we'd have more problems with the Aston Villa midfield than we would with the Manchester United midfield. And he was right about that. So when you do have a David Luiz and you look like you're struggling maybe at the back, when you do see El Neni struggling in the middle, why not bring Xhaka on? Why not make these changes earlier, Casey? Because he did have the opportunity to make some adjustments.
But you know something, Sophie, this is one thing I will tell you. Sometimes, and rightly or wrongly, managers have to see how the players react when they're suffering. Because that's the only way you're going to know who stands up, who is a leader, or who is someone you can trust in a crisis. Sometimes that's the only way you're going to find out when it's going bad. Because when it's going good, everybody's good. When it's going bad, that's when I find out who I can trust. And look, I particularly don't know why he never made the adjustments earlier, but I know managers, and I've been around enough managers. And you know what? I've been there, and I've heard them talk on the bench, and about making adjustments and bringing this was no substitutions. Leave them out there, because I'm going to find out about these guys. Leave them and let them suffer. And that's what happened. We suffered. And does anybody come out with any credit from yesterday, Sophie?
It's a brilliant point. I think you know what? It's so true. Like sometimes, if you screw up at work, your boss says, fix it. You fix it. I'm not going to fix it. You find a way to fix it. And sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. And I guess at this stage where we're at in the Premier League, and considering all the results that came before us with the last game, I'm not sure if that was the time for a lesson, So explain that to me, because I get the philosophy. Yeah. I love that hardline type of management.
So Sophie, the lesson comes from the situation, not a matter of whether we're playing last or first or middle. No, it's the opportunity that came because we were woeful. We were woeful. And you know what? If Arteta felt that way, that leave him out there, I want to see, then he made the right decision. Because let's be honest here, even if he made a couple of adjustments, it wouldn't have made much of a difference to what was going on, because we were woeful. And we were well beaten by, on the night, a better team. We were beaten by a better team. And it hurts me to say that, but it was true. A better team beat us. A more organized team beat us last night. But did we find out anything that we didn't know about our Arsenal players?
Here's the thing. I think you're the only one that can help us here, because this question has come up. One is very polarizing and the other is very shocking. Mm-hmm. And so I asked you on the last show, how is it Aubameyang almost won the Golden Boot playing on the left most of last season, and now everyone is screaming for him to play down the middle? I want to start with him first, and we'll get to Lacazette. And as a striker, I want you to take us into the mind of the striker. You've been through ups and downs in your career, right? And I've talked about it before, likening it to writer's block. Sometimes you just can't write something. It doesn't come out. You can't find the words. You go through periods where your creativity escapes you. Aubameyang looks sad. He looked actually knackered yesterday too. There was a free kick in the second half, and the way he kind of got up and he just explain, Casey, what you think might be happening with Aubameyang first.
Well, the writer's block analogy is quite a good one, but let me just add something to that. It's like a writer having no pen and pad. Never mind writer's block. He doesn't even have the tools. Do you understand what I mean? He doesn't even have the tools to be able to even put a dot on the paper because he doesn't have a pen or a paper. Aubameyang, we know, thrives on chances created. If you create chances for Aubameyang, he's lively. But you're right. He looked like the weight of the world was on his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, Sophie, we remember, he's captain. Mm-hmm. But when the captain isn't getting chances, he's not getting chances created for him. So we could put Aubameyang through the left, through the right, or through the middle. This team ain't creating anything. So it's just going to be just the same until we start playing better. Because listen, I've been through it. We've all been through it at Arsenal, where the team struggle to score. The team are struggling to score. The team are just not playing well. Okay? And you know what? Maybe a little bit of sprinkling of the back end of last season. People feel a bit more chipper than they really should be, when it really should be hunger. Jose Jimenez says, which is true. It should be the hungry. But Arteta's finding all this out now. But when you consider Aubameyang, he nearly got on the end of a couple of things at Old Trafford, scored a penalty. He had nothing yesterday. Nothing. We're not good enough in the last third, Sophie. Whereas at the back end of last season, we were good in the last third. We are not good in the last third. We are not. And that's why we are doing the yo-yo. We're on the roller coaster now. And you know what? Us as fans, we want to get off when we're on the loop. Sorry, you've got to stay on to the end of the ride. You understand what I mean?
This
is the way it is. It's harsh.
No,
it's harsh to watch.
Okay, so here's a comment about that, because last season, who was creating those chances for Aubameyang? What was the difference then? It wasn't just...
the team were playing better. Because, look, we've heard it all before about a certain player, he's the creator. No, it would have been worse if he was there, because the issue isn't, you can't just play one way. You have to play two-way, and you cannot carry anybody, okay? As a team, we were at the back end of last season, we were playing better as a team. We are not playing well as a team. We had a little showing at Fulham, but Fulham was struggling. We played well at Manchester United, but apart from that, we haven't strung back-to-back games together of playing well. So Aubameyang's not getting any. He's not getting any opportunities. He's not. Lacazette is getting the opportunities, but he seems out of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it's boiling down. It's boiling down to them two to get the chances and take the goals. Lacaz's confidence. If we switch them around, if we put Aubameyang up there, then the opposition will adjust to stop Aubameyang.
So are you saying that last season, because there were some games where Ozil played last season, right? He created some chances, but we know that he's not the answer. Some fans still think he is. I think actually a little bit like Liverpool, Bellerin and Tierney especially, was well involved in a lot of the attacking play. You know, he was
crossing for Lacazette, didn't he?
Good crossing for Lacazette. Great
Really
crossing. Played that over the top ball, especially against Liverpool a few times. We were able to execute that. So, you know, the midfield was mostly Xhaka, Ceballos. And I feel like we kind of created those chances a little bit like Liverpool, but they were interchanging a little bit more last season. It felt like Laka and Oba. But one of the missing pieces, most people think, to that, and they don't understand why Arteta isn't making these adjustments, and they don't understand why Lacazette continues to be played up down the middle, is because we're not emulating what we did last season, and the missing ingredient to that, trio is Pepe.
Yeah,
and
Pepe is, but, and here's the but, Pepe could play. It's not going to make much difference because we're not playing well as a team. One player is not going to make a difference in this team. The team have to be playing better, Sophie, because if you get one player who's playing well, the others will let him down. Because what we need 8 players playing at 7 or more. 3 could play at 6. That's all right. We can get through. But when 6, 7, or 8 are playing at 5 or 4, you're never going to get anywhere. And that's what it was yesterday. I mean, I think I'm being kind saying 5 and 4s for yesterday.
But why? I guess the question is, it's so obvious to everybody. Like the Pepe Lacazette Oba thing worked last season. Now we have actually supposedly a better midfielder in Thomas Partey and a better defender in Gabriel. Bellerin seems to be recovered well from his injury. Tierney was on the rise. You could argue that talent-wise, we Saka. I feel like the life has been sucked out of Saka too, which is really concerning. You see a game like yesterday and you screaming out for a player like Martinelli, but you can't have what you don't have at the moment. So the question is, why is he continually playing Willian when he should be giving Pepe a chance now? And I am not the biggest advocate of Pepe because I think he's too inconsistent, but I think he's been able to show that he deserves a chance. Explain that to me.
He doesn't.
Why?
He does not trust Pepe defensively. He don't.
Pepe plays better defensively when he has Maitland-Niles behind him too.
Yeah, but Maitland-Niles isn't there.
Well, again, why isn't he choosing him? This is where I think he's stubborn.
But again, we're talking hypotheticals. But what we have to do is look at the team. The team performed at Old Trafford, and if anybody said this is the team who's going to play against Aston Villa, nobody would say no. They would say, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, play them. The team played poorly. Again, they play well against Manchester United and they play poorly against Aston Villa. Is it a surprise? No, it's not a surprise because if we're honest, Sophie, we have not played well all season. Can Pepe play in there? Yes, he can. Does he have a good relationship with Maitland-Niles? Yes, he does. Does he have a good connection with Bellerin? Not so much, I don't think. I think Maitland-Niles and him connect better. But again, it's the manager's decision to play who we trust, especially with he probably thought Bellerin would hold Grealish up, Willian will get back to save Rob Holding. But that never happened. Jack Grealish had the run of the Emirates yesterday.
Yeah, he did. And also when we seemed to be, what we said yesterday as well, is like when we were attacking, it felt like it stopped. There was no support. It just felt like every single time we got ourselves in a position, we had to stop, play the ball back. We were afraid to unleash Tierney because of their flank play. We were afraid. We played afraid at home against a team that was 1 point from being in the championship this season. I want to get to some questions too for you. And Paramod asked this. One observation I had is our strikers are almost 20 yards from our penalty box mostly. Is it affecting them as I see Laka and Oba knackered when they're in the final third? Would you agree with that assessment?
No, I think what you have to do, you've got to defend as a team and attack as a team. When the strikers do come back and compress the space, it's so the opposition can't play through you. The best teams do that. They make sure that the opposition cannot play through you. But again, the issue is being in position and closing the ball are two different things. Because you see the way Aston Villa played around our box, and because people are in their positions, they think they're safe. They are not. And as proven, balls just get played in. Balls get whipped across the box and they finish it off nice and easy. And everyone thinks, but I'm in position. No, you're not, because you're not affecting the ball. That's the difference.
Archie makes a good point. 3 managers, lower teams, players don't turn up. That's true. We've seen that with Wenger. We saw it with Emery, and now we're seeing it with Arteta. And I guess where Archie's coming from, and a lot of fans, is we thought this would change under Arteta. The cup run, the cup win, the team seemed to have this spirit about them, this togetherness. Something's not quite right, Casey, in the Premier League. And I don't want to talk about like what's going on behind the scenes and everything that's happened.
Sophie, we've said it. We had a discussion and we said about in order to get consistent, we know the players that are in there right now haven't got it in them to be consistent. Because it's the third manager where they've been inconsistent. We know the players who can do it, who have come in, and you could see. But the supporting cast isn't there. It is not there. That's why he's sitting under 3 managers, because it's the same players who 1 week they're up, next minute they're down. And that's what brings some of the other players down. Because it's a team game, whether we like it or not. The team has to be playing better. And they're just not, they're not good enough to be consistent yet. And until Arteta gets that, we're going to be yo-yoing people. I said before, and I'll say it again, we better get used to this, because we're asking for, we must be the mad ones, because we're expecting something different from these players.
So Fitzroy Edwards, another comment that a lot of fans have is that we're slow. We play really slow. Agree?
We play sideways, yeah. We play crap football. And if you remember in our cup run last season, part of our surprise was catching teams on the break.
Mm-hmm.
And you like that Tierney ball over the top for Aubameyang,
I love that.
But in order to do that, we have to be compact and we have to let them come onto us in order for the space to be there to spring. But we're not playing well enough to catch them. That's the difference, Sophie. We are not playing well enough to catch them. We will start playing well, by the way, because it won't always be this way. But we have to suffer a little bit now. And here's where we're going to find out about some of these players. We know some of them ain't good enough, but Arteta's going to have to put them square pegs in the round holes in order to get us playing more consistently, because he can't do nothing else yet.
Can you talk us through a little bit about the defense, because that's another area that splits fans. In that, is Gabriel more suited, in a certain system? We saw David Luiz obviously excel at Chelsea under Conte's system. We've seen him play in a 4 where really he doesn't perform as well. When he's playing back there and the system suits him, he makes these sweeping passes. Sometimes they're Alonso-esque. I mean, the boy can pin a pass. Can you talk us through a little bit about fans' concern versus certain teams and how we set up? For example, why are we setting up so protectively against, they may see it as Aston Villa, but we know they're dangerous in midfield, and how we set up against Manchester United. Can you talk us through that a little bit, Casey?
Yeah, I think what you got to look at is the mindset of the players as well. No disrespect to Aston Villa, but Manchester United versus Arsenal is a huge game, one that the players really look forward to, and it's one that they know is a massive game and will give them massive kudos if they get over the line. Okay? Now, we know Aston Villa were struggling last season. But this is a different season, and we've seen them put 7 past Liverpool. 7. So we know they're a dangerous outfit. We know that they're a dangerous outfit. So again, you can't give the respect to Manchester United away and not pay the respect to Aston Villa when you play. You have to give every opponent the respect that they deserve, and you have to fight them first. It's not about all this fancy football. It's not about playing good football first. It's about we have to fight you first. And after we fight you physically and we overpower you that way, then we will play our football. But I think some of these players play one way. They play nice football, and then as soon as they get banjoed and the other team is running harder than us or whatever, no, they jack it in. And that's not the Arsenal way. That has never been the Arsenal way.
It seemed like for the first time yesterday, after conceding a goal and then two, we reverted back to a little bit of the Wenger-Emery era where we just gave up. And we haven't really seen that under Arteta because we've always been able to fight back. But Paramount had a follow-up question, which is really important, which follows up from my question about the back line and how he's had to make adjustments. There's this ongoing argument, of course. I was really rooting for Leno yesterday. I don't think we lost because of Leno. There's no way. There's nothing he could do about those goals. Even the third one went through his legs. I mean, he was exposed there. It happens to every single goalkeeper. But I was really hoping that he would be the one that had a clean sheet and Emmy didn't. He asks a good question here because we've seen the speed of which Emmy can release the ball. We've seen the speed of which he's able to pass the ball and control the ball from short to long distance, Casey. Is this part of the issue in terms of that back line distribution?
No, it's not. It's not. Now, a goalkeeper, yeah, Emmy's probably better with the ball at his feet than Leno. But Leno hasn't really made many mistakes of late. We knew in the Vienna game that he was a lot ropey. But since then, he hasn't really made mistakes with the ball at his feet so much. So it's not that. It's just, again, it's down to the team functioning and playing better. We've not played well. We played well again against Fulham and Manchester United. 2 games out of quite a few. What is it, a dozen games? 2 games out of a dozen? That's poor form. So
we've lost 4 already, Casey.
Yeah, 4 in the league.
And James made a great point earlier. If you look at kind of who's up there in top 4, at least who's winning the league, you're not losing 4 games by November. Emery lost 4 or 5 games when he got fired after the season. Yeah. This is a problem. We're not even able to put ourselves in a position to draw.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Here's the difference. Unai Emery never won anything. Unai Emery was in pole position to finish in the top 4 in the league and was in the Europa Cup final. And we got neither.
Well, Arteta had a chance to put us in the Champions League last season. He had a lot of games to get us there.
But he won a trophy. This is the difference.
Well, Emery took us to the Europa League final.
We didn't win.
I know.
But this is the difference. The difference is, and we always used to say we're seeing some comparisons to George Graham. I don't know if you remember, after we won the League Cup against Liverpool, we beat Liverpool in the final. The next season was very similar to this so far. The form was all over the place. It was. Why? Because as a cup team, you can do it on the off game. But consistency isn't in the team. It's not in the team. It's never been built in this team. So this is what Mikel Arteta has to address. We know we've seen it under, and it's right. We've seen it under Arsene Wenger. We've seen it under Unai Emery. It's a little smidge under Freddie. But now Arteta's seen it. This performance, I can guarantee you, shocked him. It shocked him.
So I think Matty brings up a good point. Emery did have a worse squad, and he finished better in the league, and he lost his job. We know Arteta hasn't been in his position for as long, but even Ole, who was ripped, managed to get Manchester United Champions League football. Mourinho's been ripped at Spurs, and crikey, they're second. I mean, this is a little bit worrying. I mean, because I think everyone was expecting some Arteta to bring some stability and consistency in the league, Casey. And you asked me at the very beginning of the season, what do you want? I said, I just want consistency. we should at least be getting a point against Aston Villa if we're not able to close. You know, we've lost to
Unfortunately, it don't
Liverpool.
work like that, Sophie.
I know it doesn't. I know.
Sophie, I think we all want consistency in the league. But what we got to do is we got to look at it, the situation as is right now. And people could be telling Emery's top of the league in Spain. God, give me nonsense. Emery, nobody cried when Emery left. So get Emery out of here. We have to be looking at what's going on at Arsenal right now. And we are a club in transition, whether people like it or not. We are. Is this Arteta's team that he wants? Is this team going to look like the Arteta team if Arteta's even here in 2 years' time? I don't think it will. What? But he's not been backed. He's not been backed. He needs to be backed, and he needs to get the players in that can be consistent.
Right. You're listening to the Highbury Squad, and this is our new Lockdown Live series. We'll be coming to you live every day with a different subject, Arsenal related, Premier League football related. So tune in. We're going to send out some more information on our Twitter account too. This is our very first live Kevin Says. This is the 5th part of the Kevin Says series. He has the floor today, and one of the
hour
things,
long. Kev says
it's usually 7 minutes, so we're almost wrapping here. We've got lots of questions coming in for you. That's why, Casey.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one quick question before I give you a couple before we depart. What do you think shocked Arteta the most about yesterday?
Yeah, you know what it was? I think it was the capitulation, because. Let me just tell you this, Sophie. As when you're a professional player, things can go wrong. You know, nobody goes out there to play bad, etc. Things can go wrong. But as a manager, you look at, are the boys still together? Are they still fighting a good fight? Even if you're misplacing passes, are you hiding? Are you still looking to take the ball? The manager would rather you make 10 mistakes, Sophie, than hide. And this is what he must have been looking at yesterday and thinking, there's players here who I put my trust in, and they don't want it. They're not up for the fight, yeah? Villa might win the game, but are you up for the fight? Because you know what, Sophie? If all the chips are against you and you're beside me and you are fighting, I can rely on you moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But what shocked him was the total capitulation of the team. International players fell apart. That is not a good. That's not a good sign. That is definitely not a good sign.
So does that mean you think that after the international break, are we going to see him make? I want you to look into your crystal football. Are we going to see Willock? Are we going to see? You were talking about lack of creativity, and also James brought up a good point in our show last night, because I asked him what's been the best performance so far, and he looked at the Sheffield United game where, you know how you and I talked about Willian and Saka being interchangeable in that 10 role. It worked so well. So why didn't he continue on with that if it worked well? And go on.
No, I just think because when you play different teams create different problems. Whereas Sheffield United are quite rigid in what they do. And in the centre, their centre halves tend to come out with the ball and join in. So having somebody interchangeable as a number 10, you're asking them a different question. Will you come out and mark me? Because if you come out, then we got more space. So you're presenting problems for them as well as them trying to present problems for you. So it's a cat and mouse type thing. I like the flexibility of having a Willian and Pepe being able to go in 10, go out wide, switch wings, switch. If Pepe wants to go and play 10 minutes up striker, go and do it. Aubameyang could go on the left, Willian could go on the right. I don't mind all that kind of stuff. I think that's healthy. But a team like Aston Villa, where you know where the threats come from, it's not rocket science. We know where the threats come from. Jack Grealish and Ross Barkley. They're the two players. If you stop them, you stop Aston Villa. We couldn't stop them. We couldn't stop them yesterday. So Willian would have had a different instruction yesterday than he did against Sheffield United, etc.
Ross Barkley has been fantastic so far this season. We also made him look like a Barcelona midfielder, from the Pep era, especially. So do you give Willock, do you shift Saka more forward on that left? Do you put Oba down the middle? Does Pepe come back in on the left? Who does Smith Rowe get a chance? Is Holding too inconsistent? Should Gabriel be partnering with David Luiz? Do they mesh well together? Can David Luiz play every game now? Tell us before we wrap how you would make these adjustments when we get back from the international break, and if you think Arteta is willing to do those things.
Well, you mentioned players who have performed pretty well, considering the only game time they've got is probably in the Europa League, and some substitute appearances in the Premier League. But for the next probably week or so, I could tell you this: Mikel Arteta will be watching He'll be watching the games, and he'll be looking at what he's asking and why aren't the players doing what he wants. And he'll be thinking, if they're not doing what I want, I'm going to have to make adjustments. Now, will he make wholesale changes? I don't think he will. But I think he will make some adjustments because the team just are not performing. So he will make adjustments.
But do you think Willock deserves a shot? Do you think?
It depends. Going to all depend on the opposition, because I think the next game is what, Leeds?
Yes.
The next game's Leeds. So it's going to depend on the opposition. And don't forget, he's going to watch that Leeds FA Cup game as well, isn't he? Where we didn't turn up in the first half. And they should have been out of sight. Made the adjustments, and what happened second half? We started to get a lot tighter, a lot closer. We started affecting the ball, Sophie, and we ended up winning the game pretty comfortably in the end. But unless players affect the ball, just being in a position is not enough at this level. It isn't enough, and that's why Villa dealt with us yesterday. Players thought it's easy. It's not. Football's a hard game. Football is a hard game. And you know what? It's those extra few yards to get closer to the ball. That is the tough. That's the hard yards.
Yeah.
Getting back and getting in position isn't hard. It's affecting the ball and getting to that ball. That is what the best teams do. And we weren't prepared to do it yesterday.
Is there anything else you'd like everyone to know that you haven't said about yesterday's game, or in a nutshell, like anything that you feel that you haven't shared?
I just think, listen, everyone better get used to this up and down form at the moment, because we are trying to be a consistent team and not a cup team. But we still have the same inconsistent pieces in there. It's hard. And it's not an excuse. It's just the truth. Mikel Arteta, he has to find a way. We know we need different players. Everybody knows that. But let's not lose our mind over this team not performing, because it's in them not to perform.
I guess that's the problem, that, at this level, we shouldn't have that. And I know that, Arteta is young and inexperienced, and we hear all of that. But at this level, when you're playing in the Premier League, you expect a little bit more. And, Kolasinac isn't playing all the time now. Ozil's out of the squad. You don't have some of the deficiencies, back. There are some of the players that aren't playing from that Wenger era anymore. But, Pepe, people expect more from. Lacazette, Aubameyang. you know, and I think they also expect a little bit more from the manager too at the moment. And
100%, 100%. No,
and so
that's right.
yeah,
That's right. Of course.
and I think we'll leave it with Robin's question. Do we blame Arteta for that or the individuals?
No, we everyone takes the blame. Arteta takes the blame, and the team take the blame. The individuals in the team as well, because it's not just the manager's fault. The manager sets the team up how he thinks the team will go and win. The team have to they have to perform. That's what football is. It's a performance business. So once you cross that white line, you've got your instruction. You've got to go out there and you've got to perform. We never performed yesterday. So Arteta will take it. He's the manager. He will take it upon himself, trying to take pressure off the players. But I cannot spare the players as well. The players will hold their hands up and say, we just never performed. So everyone gets the blame. Just like when we win, everyone gets the plaudits.
Well, listen, we hope you've enjoyed our extended version of Kevin Says today. We decided to throw in a live one as our launch for our lockdown series. Have you enjoyed it, Casey?
I've loved it. I've loved it. And thanks for, all the questions and comments, etc. Keep them coming. I'll answer what I can when we get off. And let's go from there.
Yep, definitely.
Because we are a family. We are a family. So let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow. Look out on Twitter for the announcement and the topic of tomorrow's show. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, Casey, what's the sign-off?
The sign-off is always Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. We hate you sometimes, but we always love you.